Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, today was just a rainy, miserable day. So after running some errands and helping Mrs. Wrenching out, um, getting her up and moving around, she's doing much better. Thank you for everybody who's checked in. I do appreciate it. Um, but basically, I came out to the garage because I've been neglecting this for quite a while now, since we moved in. Basically, I started getting stuff straightened out, and then kind of got set off track and stuff like that. And obviously, with the issue that occurred several weeks back, that really threw a monkey wrench in absolutely everything. But Mr. Wrenching's getting better, so all's good. Very happy about that. Still have a ways to go, but everything's getting better. Anyway, so I was organizing my garage and stuff like that, putting stuff away, like I said, because I've been neglecting it. And I came across a couple boxes of things that I had wanted to go over, and I just never wound up getting to it. One thing is a set of DOD lifters, which I'm not going to get into that right now, and I have them actually laid out here. So you might see some of that stuff in this video. Another one is, I'd gotten asked this question several times. I had replaced a clock spring. I've done a couple of videos of replacing clock springs. And I did the clock spring on my Caravan, because the airbag light kept coming on and off and on and off and on and off, and it was basically, they call them squibs. So if you ever read with the scanner and you get a squib code, squib is the clock spring, or the circuitry to the airbag is what I should say. So because you can get a squib code for the passenger airbag, and if you get a squib code for a passenger airbag, more than likely you have a bad airbag module. More than likely, not guaranteeing anything there because you got to diagnose it. Anyway, on the driver's side, I was like, well, this thing's got 240,000 miles, I think, at the time when I did the job. I was like, okay, I could pretty much guarantee you the clock spring's no good. What is a clock spring? A clock spring comes up through the column, or the wiring comes up through the column, attaches to this thing, known as a clock spring. The clock spring has the wiring harness plugged into it. It allows for movement of the steering wheel, to make turns and stuff like that, but it allows for a constant connection between the airbag and the rest of the harness. In the old days, for the horn, they would have a contact, like inside an electrical motor, where you'd have a brush making contact, and they used to use that for the horns. And there would be a contact point and a contact plate, and over time it could actually wear out. They did away with that because you have to have a constant good connection. Because you ever get in an older car and if you turn the wheel, you don't have a horn in like one particular position, but then you have a horn in another position. It's usually because the plate is either wearing out, it's got some junk built up on it or whatever. You can't do that with an airbag. So on this one in particular, I have the cruise control runs through it. The horn runs through. No, the horn doesn't. Yeah, the horn does run through it. I'm sorry. The horn runs through it. The cruise control runs through it. The radio for like up, down channel, volume, the whole 9 yards, all of that stuff runs through it. So this thing has more than just the airbag circuit in it. So, but anyway, people were asking me, what's the inside of that thing look like? Well, you know what? I haven't taken one apart in like forever. I think the last time I took one apart was when clock springs really first started coming out in the 90s. I want to say it was not in the 90s, late 80s. What was it, 87? Yeah, I think 1987 was when Ford, I think, put it in production on all their cars. I was big into the 5-liter Mustang back then. I've mentioned that in the past. So I think that was the last time I actually physically took one apart just to see what it looked like. But I've had people ask me, can you take one apart? I want to see what it looks like. Sure. So I saved this because I was going to show you. And of course, like I said, never got around to it. All right, so let me show you this thing in a little more detail. So here it is. It had two little screws here, and these are called tamper-proof Torx. See in the center? Whoops, sorry about that. Where am I? I lost you. Where am I? Oops, there we go. See in the center there? It's got that like little tower. And I was having a dickens of a time focusing. But you get the idea. It's got that like little tower. Basically, so you can't just shove a regular Torx into it because it'll never fit. So you need a tamper-proof socket, which is what this is. See, it's got a hole in the center. So that allows you to get that type of a bolt out. So anyway, this thing had two of them that I could find. One right there and one down inside there. I don't see another one anywhere. But now, I don't care about breaking this thing because I am going to have to break it. But I figured I'd show you that because this is kind of a snap-together piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on my tripod and I'm going to start taking this thing apart to show you. This connection is for the steering wheel controls. These two are for the two-stage airbag. So, you know, for two-stage, it's like, okay, you're not in that severe of an accident, but enough to deploy an airbag, you're going to have one. Or if you're a small person and the seat senses it or it senses your position to the steering wheel, it may not actuate both airbags. But if you're in a severe accident, it'll actuate both, so this way you have more protection. So let me do that. Let me set this thing up, and let me start taking this thing apart. And one thing, too, is these things are not cheap. This thing was $230, if I'm not mistaken, and that was aftermarket. Oh, okay. That's those screws only held in this piece, which I'm not actually sure. This is some kind of a switch for something. Oh, this may be. This is a steering wheel position sensor. So this probably has to do with the StabiliTrak. That's what this piece is for. So I'm just going to leave this alone. You know what? Maybe I will take that apart too. Oh, here you see those DOD lifters, but I'm not going to go through that in this video. That's a different video. All right, let me set you up on a tripod and let's take that apart. All right, so hopefully I could stay on this and you can see what I am talking about as I take this thing apart. Now, like I said, I'm not concerned about brokening it. Good English. I'm not concerned about breaking it because it's already been broken. All right. So basically, I don't know what you're seeing there, but basically that's just a plastic shell. They're all a little bit different, but the general idea of what's inside here should all be the same with the different manufacturers. Now, let me see if I can figure out how this comes apart. Not quite sure. All right, so there's this piece inside. I'm just breaking the tabs. You would never want to take one of these things apart to try to fix it. Your safety is not worth it. And gosh darn it, you don't want to do this, especially for a customer car. Because the implications could be really bad. All right, so basically what you see in here, this is ribbon wire. And see, the ribbon wire goes with the steering wheel as you're turning it. Hopefully you can see that. So somewhere in this ribbon wire is a brake. As you see, you have quite a bit of this stuff in there. And it holds the different circuits. Ugh, look at that. I always wonder about junk that gets caught up and stuff. There's hair in here and everything else. And that's just from, you know, all the years. But there you see it's quite a extensively long piece, but I'm curious if I can actually see a break in here. This is actually kind of gross. That's actually kind of gross. But as of right now, I do not physically see anything. I may not be able to see anything. So this ribbon wire, basically it's just copper stranding inside this plastic sheathing here. But I don't really see anything. But who knows? I mean, who knows where it could be broken? But as you see, I mean, like with anything that has to rotate and turn however many times over a period of years, you know, it's going to wear out. It's going to break. And that's exactly what happened with this. All right, let me get that, because it's got grease and stuff all over it. Let me get that off my hands real quick, and we'll be right back. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I mean, it was just, you know, like I said, I had a bunch of people asking me about that, what's inside there. And like I said, this piece, not all Clocksprings have this. This is basically a steering wheel position sensor. And what that's for is traction control. So this way, the traction control knows, well, the stability and traction control, it knows like you're going straight, or hey, the wheels are cut slightly, like you must be sliding or something. So it wants to adjust that accordingly. I'm not going to take this apart. But anyway, I wanted to show you that. I might inspect that a little further at some point. And just to see if I notice anything, then I'll point it out, make a quick video on that. But for right now, I'm just going to leave that as is. I go back tomorrow for the first time in quite a while. So, you know, thank you, Rob, for allowing me the time off to take care of Meg. But yeah, so, all right, that's about it. Hopefully you're getting something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. Oh, and what I'm going to do is I have a 5.3 that I'm going to take apart because it's going to be, I'm going to set that motor up basically like a stockish motor, but I want to have the ability to run nitrous and stuff on it, so I want to clean it up. I'm not going to do much to it. It's going to be a very mild build. But when I go and take that apart, I'll explain more how valve train works and stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm going to do the DOD lifters, but that'll come later. All right. Again, thank you for watching. If you could, have a great day. Keep wrenching.